Hello. Welcome. Today we will talk about 10 strangest words that criminals said before a death sentence. Enjoy the video and don't forget to subscribe and like if you like the video. Have you ever imagined the few moments before the execution? Of course, these are hard moments when feelings are mixed between love, fear and regret, but there are criminals who did not admit their mistakes, and they were better off dying. We document the last moments that criminals have experienced in their last words, seeing sadness in some of them, and insisting on error in others. The last words of the most famous serial killers carry a lot of emotion, and some murderers, when faced with execution, sincerely apologize for the heinous crimes they have committed, and sometimes their last words are filled with a lot of anger and resentment. And here's a list of the last words of the 10 famouses of serial killers worldwide. 1. Ted Bundy. His last words, "I would like to convey my love to my family and friends," was an American serial killer who kidnapped, raped, and murdered numerous young women and girls during the 1970s and possibly earlier. After more than a decade of denials, before his execution, in 1989 he confessed to 30 homicides that he committed in 7 states between 1974 and 1978. Bundy was executed in the electric chair at Florida State Prison in Rayford, Florida on January 24, 1989. 2. John Wayne Gacy. His last words, "Go to hell." John Wayne Gacy was an American serial killer and sex offender known as the Killer Clown who assaulted and murdered at least 33 young men and boys. Gacy regularly performed at children's hospitals and charitable events as Pogo the Clown or Patches the Clown, personas he had devised. Gacy's arrest on December 21, 1978. The conviction for 33 murders was the largest number charged to one individual in the United States. Gacy was sentenced to death on March 13, 1980. On death row at Menard Correctional Center he spent much of his time painting. He was executed by lethal injection at Stateville Correctional Center on May 10, 1994. 3. James French. His last words, "Hello, boys, what about this news?" is the headlines of tomorrow's newspapers. James Donald French was an American criminal who was the last person executed under Oklahoma's death penalty laws prior to Furman v. Georgia, which suspended capital punishment in America from 1972 until 1976. He was also the only prisoner executed in the United States that year. He was executed on August 10, 1966. 4. Aileen Wuornos. Her last words were, "Yes, I would just like to say I'm sailing with the Rock, and I'll be back, like Independence Day, with Jesus." June 6, like the movie Big Mother ship and all, "I'll be back, I'll be back." Aileen Carol Lee Wuornos Prale was an American serial killer and prostitute who murdered 7 men in Florida in 1989 and 1990 by shooting them at point-blank range. Wuornos's execution took place on October 9, 2002. She died at 9:47 a.m. EDT. She declined her last meal, which could have been anything under $20, and opted for a cup of coffee instead. 5. Carl Panzram. His last words, "Hurry up, idiots, I can now kill 10 of you while you stand around me useless." Charles Carl Panzram was an American serial killer, rapist, arsonist, robber, and burglar. In prison confessions and his autobiography, he claimed to have committed 22 murders, most of which could not be corroborated, and over 1,000 acts of sodomy of boys and men. On August 30, 1928, Panzram was arrested in Baltimore for a Washington, D.C. burglary, stealing a radio and jewelry from the home of a dentist on August 20. During his interrogation, he confessed to killing 3 young boys earlier that month, one in Salem, one in Connecticut, and a 14-year-old newsboy in Philadelphia. Panzram later wrote that he had contemplated mass killings and other acts of mayhem such as poisoning a city's water supply with arsenic, or scuttling a British warship in New York Harbor to provoke a war between the United States and Britain. And he was executed in September 5, 1936. Peter Kurten. His last words, "Tell me, after my head is chopped off, will I still be able to hear, at least for a moment, the sound of my own blood gushing from the stump of my neck? That would be the pleasure to end all pleasures." Peter Kurten was a German serial killer known as the Vampire of Dusseldorf and the Dusseldorf Monster. He committed a series of murders and sexual assaults between February and November 1929 in the city of Dusseldorf. At 6 o'clock on the morning of 2nd of July, Peter Kurten was beheaded by guillotine in the grounds of Knellputz prison, Cologne. He walked unassisted to the guillotine, flanked by the prison psychiatrist and the priest. And he was executed after this time. 7. Johnny Frank Jarrett, Cr. Last said, "I would like to thank my family for giving love and care to me, and for the rest of the life I will turn my ass to them." He was executed by lethal injection after being accused of murdering and raping an elderly woman in 1981. In 2004, however, some documents were issued to clear Johnny of the crime, but it was too late, as he was executed in 1992. 8. H. Holmes. His last words, "Take your time. Master your work." Herman Webster Mudgett, better known as Dr. Henry Howard Holmes or, more commonly, as H. Holmes, was an American serial killer. While he confessed to 27 murders, only 9 could be plausibly confirmed, and several of the people he claimed to have murdered were still alive. Holmes was tried and his case was then affected by the American public, which had not committed such crimes, and in May 7, 1896 Holmes was hanged to death at the age of 35. 9. Jeffrey Dahmer. His last words, "It doesn't matter if I'm going to live or die, kill me and don't care about anything." Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal or the Milwaukee Monster, was an American serial killer and sex offender who committed the murder and dismemberment of 17 men and boys from 1978 to 1991. He had been living with his grandmother for 6 years, but then his grandmother asked him to leave her home when he was arrested for public nudity. Dahmer was arrested in 1991 when one of his victims escaped and was convicted of 15 murders. After his arrest, Dahmer wished to die and cursed himself for his crimes. On November 28, 1994, Dahmer was killed by his cellmate and died of a severe head injury. 10. Thomas J. Grasso. His last words, "I didn't get the spaghetti I want, and I want the press to know this." Thomas J. Grasso killed 2 elderly women in order to steal a small amount of money. He asked before his execution to be his last meal containing spaghetto, a custom type of spaghetti that is in circles with cheese and tomato sauce, but he received the normal spaghetti, and said this sentence, "I did not get the spaghetti I want, and I want the press to know this." And just before 1 a.m., on March 20, 1995, Grasso walked from his cell to the execution chamber. The witnesses, including Grasso's lawyers and 12 reporters, sat in an adjoining room. About 1 a.m., with Grasso strapped to the gurney, Warden Ron Ward picked up a phone in the witness room and spoke to Governor Keating, who granted permission to proceed from his official residence in Oklahoma City. Grasso was pronounced dead as 1:22 a.m. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for this channel to see our more videos, and please put a like before you leave. See you in the next video.